Welcome to another episode of the Millennial Management Podcast. I am your host, Brandy, the Millennial Manager. As always, if you are not following me on social media, you are missing out. All of this week, we focused solely on management. Even the lives this week focused on management. And so it's a more in-depth conversation. I answer questions live. Make sure you are following me on at the Millennial Manager. On Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and now a YouTube account. So make sure that you are joining in on the conversation. You don't want to miss out. Also, a huge thank you to my subscribers on the podcast. We hit 10,000 downloads. Thank you so much, y'all. Y'all don't even know what that means. The podcast has only been up since August 30th, and to secure that many downloads has been an amazing achievement. And I just want to say thank you so much. And now let's get into the messy ass management side. How to avoid being a messy ass manager 101, okay? Now, we're talking about a few things today. Number one, we're talking about how to improve your management skills and abilities. And this not only will help you create a better work environment for your employees, but also you will find that it's going to help you do a better job as well. Because if you can organize your thoughts, you can make better decisions. If you can just get some of these key things down, it can make a big difference, not just in your work life, but also in your personal life. The other things that I wanted to focus on today, or the second round of topics, is going to be how to deal with conflicts in the workplace. You can't avoid them. They are going to happen. And a lot of people mess up because you think that you can avoid conflict 100%, and that is not realistic. Everything is not going to be kumbaya, but the way that you deal with it is what's going to make the damn difference, okay? So let's get started. Now, the first round of topic that we're going to be discussing is improving your management skills, and I want to give you a few bullet points today. Number one, the best way that you can start this process is by improving your decision-making skills. This is something that is very difficult for a lot of people because we struggle with making decisions on the daily. So trying to improve those skills is going to make you a better manager. Good managers make sound decisions quickly and confidently, okay, which makes you an effective manager. Practice evaluating situations, considering various outcomes, and making informed choices. So make sure that when you are making your decisions or when you are evaluating situations, you have the information. You know every point from point A to point Z. You have the information. So make sure that you are aware of those things, which helps us go into the second point, which is cultivating self-awareness. Now, in our video from this week, or in one of the videos this week, I talked about being able to accept constructive criticism, because a lot of managers, we're so ready to bark orders. We're so ready to tell our employees about how to improve, but we're not really putting that gauge on ourselves. Okay, we're not turning that mirror on ourselves. So let's do that. And let's do it in a way that is not going to, make you feel bad about yourself, but make you feel like, you know what, these are some things that I need to work on. Maybe you are not a good communicator. Maybe you are not an effective communicator. So maybe that's an area that is a weakness for you. And if you understand your weakness, that will help you manage it. So the key to self-awareness is understanding your strengths and your weaknesses, and that helps you be able to reflect on your actions and seek feedback. It also helps you really be able to apply the information that you are given, because if you are given information and you know that you need to do these things to improve your work environment for your staff, and then also ultimately improve a work-life balance for yourself, and you don't apply it, then you deserve whatever is coming your way, baby, because you have to apply the tactics that we talk about. So It helps you be able to receive that feedback from your staff. It helps you be able to receive feedback from your colleagues, because if you walk around with this chip thinking that, you know what, I know everything about every single person's job, I know the ins and outs, when you may know like the scope, but you don't necessarily know the ins and outs, the details, the time that it takes for people to complete certain tasks. You are not familiar with that. And where you lack the ability to be strong in certain areas, that is where your team, if you really support them, that is where your team shines through, because that is an area of weakness for you. And building up your team is monumental and extremely important. Now, speaking of teams, this takes us to our third option. This is another way that we can make sure that our team is supported, and also make sure that we're doing our job as a manager, is by building trust. Trust in any relationship, whether it's work related, whether it's with your friend or a partner, it is the foundation of any strong relationship. And in the workplace, it is the foundation of a strong team. You need to be transparent with your team, meaning be for real. Okay? Stop playing in them people's face. Be honest and be truthful, but do not be rude. Okay? Keep your promises. If you tell them you're going to do something, you better follow through. Okay? And you better not tell them people nothing that you know you cannot do. Because when you do that, you are tearing down the bridge of trust in the workplace. You have to make sure that they can trust you and that you keep your promises. Now, the other part of this is that you have to show respect. And this is where a lot of managers, y'all mess up, because you think that an authoritarian position, or a position in authority, because y'all act like authoritarian, some of you, but you think that a position like this requires you to be aggressive. You think that that's what's going to get you results. You talk to people crazy. Baby, no. What's going to happen is that I'm going to get sick of you talking to me like that, and I'm going to keep it moving, because you're not going to disrespect me in any kind of way. And none of your team members should be available to you for disrespect. Now, you may say, well, what if I have a team member who's not really following through? They're not completing tasks. That's a totally different situation. But even that person deserves respect. Respect is due to a dog. And you cannot talk to people any kind of way and think that you're going to get anywhere with them. So when you are talking to them, you need to come from a place of respect at all times. Okay, no matter what the situation is, that also helps you keep your composure when you are discussing things that may not be ideal situations in the workplace, but they happen. And when you have that respect for people, you are able to maintain your composure and stick to the facts. When you get outside of respect, you start talking from an emotional standpoint, and that's where you mess up. Stay in the respect area, and then also keep your composure. Now, this is going to help you build trust with your team. And through this is how we get to our next phase. It's going to improve your communication. You remember we talked about communication, or clear and effective communication, is key in the workplace. If there is a lot of disarray inside of your office or inside of your company, and you can't really put your finger on it, you need to look at how you all are communicating. Are things kind of falling through the cracks because information is not given to every single person? It's just like, okay, well, this person told me this and this person told me that, when instead, as you, the manager, should go ahead and do a blanket statement. Do a blanket statement and let them know exactly where you stand. And this helps you create that bridge of trust, which is what you ultimately want inside of the workplace. And when you improve your methods of communication, you make sure that you are actively listening when your team members are talking to you, when they are giving you constructive feedback, or maybe you are listening to your boss who is telling you things. Make sure that you are actively listening, and ensure that your team understands their roles and responsibilities clearly. Because if there's not a clear line of what their job is, they're always going to be in disarray. And so you have to make sure that they understand exactly where you stand, exactly where their roles and responsibilities lie. Number 5 is one of my favorites because I get a lot of messages about this particular item, and it is about establishing regular check-ins, which goes along with communication. Now, I know that a lot of people feel like their boss maybe over communicates with them, and that's a topic for a different day. But what I'm talking about is for those of you who lack the ability to communicate at all. Okay, you're not following up with your team. You're not doing a check-in with your team, which you should at least be doing once a week. Once a week. If you had a situation happen, or maybe you all are working on a project once a week or twice a month. That is and you decide what your frequency needs to be depending on the situation. So checking in regularly with your team, whatever that frequency is for you, can help you stay informed about their progress and then also address any concerns that you have immediately, which helps you in the communication realm because now you have improved another channel for you to communicate effectively with your staff. And making sure that you have these regular check-ins, whatever that frequency is, if it's once a month, or maybe it's twice a month, or maybe it's once a week, just not once a day, because who got time for that? But all these things are connected because when you establish regular check-ins, whatever that frequency is for your company, you're not only helping your team member understand their strengths, but you're understanding your weaknesses, okay? Because if you don't know what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, how can you really judge them? How can you really say, well, this really should happen in this amount of time? You have no idea. So this is what's going to help your self-awareness factor. When we talk about establishing regular check-ins, it helps build trust because now you're improving your communication. All of these things are connected. And I want you to use them to make sure that you are creating a great space, not just for your staff, baby, not just for them, but it will provide you so much peace of mind because you're not constantly stressing about your job because you put things in place to improve the work environment. And now we are moving on to how to deal with conflicts in the workplace as a manager. And I know that y'all, we don't want these things to happen, but they do. And being prepared to deal with situations head on is the biggest way to fix a situation in the workplace. Because a lot of us, we want to avoid it. We want to act like a situation is not happening. We're ignoring the problem when the problem is staring us directly in the face. So step number 1 is to address conflicts as soon as they happen. When there is a problem in the workplace, you need to go ahead and deal with it. Because if you don't, it's going to continue to escalate and the situation can get even more serious. So even if you're having a disagreement between 2 team members, sitting them down at the beginning of it can stop it from going to another level. But if you just let it fester, it's just going to continue to get worse and make the environment worse. And people start to pick sides and it becomes a gossiping situation. It can become a place where things get physical because you just don't really know. So standing in the way of that, okay, stopping it, being preventative, stop things from happening. Don't let it fester. Get in the way of it. Let's go ahead and sit down and talk about it so you can prevent matters from escalating. Number 2, this goes back to our opening conversation, actively listening, which is another way to communicate. Listen to all of the parties involved without interrupting. When I have a situation happen on site, I go to the location where the matter happened. I pull one person, listen to them. I do not interrupt them. I pull the second person, listen to them, and interrupt them. And in those individual meetings, I let them know, looking at this situation, do you feel like I asked them, I should say, do you feel like you could have handled this situation better? If so, tell me how. Listen to them. Sometimes people can solve their own problem. They just need a mediator. They don't need a referee. Okay? They need a mediator. And inside the workplace with grown folk, even with my own teenagers, I am a mediator. I'm not refereeing shit. We're going to sit down and we're going to have a conversation because y'all are almost adults and you need to learn how to conflict resolve. So mediating a situation is what's going to stop it from escalating. So in these meetings, I sit down with them and I ask them, I put the ball in their court. Is there anything you feel like you could have done better? And then we build on that conversation. How do we not get here again? We know where we are. How do we not get here again? And that question is asked to both parties individually. And then I ask them, do you feel like you are able to have a conversation? And if the answer to that is no, then we table it for a different day. But most times, once they have already seen where they could have done things differently, they're open to having a conversation where it's a mediator in between the two parties, and they're comfortable with discussing it because they've already seen that they could have changed the way that this whole thing took off because they sat there and they thought about it. This not only shows that you are just trying to stop this issue from escalating, but it also shows your staff that you value their perspectives when you mention or when you meet with them individually and you discuss things with them individually. You ask them what their input is. You ask them, how can we not get back here again? What are some tactics that we can do? Is there anything that I can help you put the ball in their court? And all you need to do is listen. It's very, very simple. Now, this goes into our third phase, and this is for you messy ass managers out there. Before we start this, when you are in the workplace and some things are happening, you need to remain neutral and impartial. Do not talk about other staff members with your employees. I don't give a damn what the other person did. You shut your mouth. Avoid taking sides and focus on finding a fair solution, because there is always a solution or a resolution at the end of these situations. So you just need to help the team find it. But you gossiping with one person or discussing bad qualities about other employees to employees, that is extremely unprofessional. And it does not help the situation. It actually makes the matter worse. So when you are confronted with a moment like this, you need to shut up and you need to listen and you need to offer advice that's going to help the person coming to you improve without dragging somebody else. Okay? So stay neutral. Period. Number 4, encourage open communication. Your staff members should be able to come to you and feel comfortable expressing concern without retaliation and without retribution. They know that they can come to you and discuss misunderstandings. They know that they can come to you because you have built that bridge of trust. They know that. So they know that they can come to you in confidence and you're going to help them solve whatever the issue is, or you're going to solve this issue, because some things you actually have to do as a manager, and there's nothing that your staff can do. They just need to bring it to your attention, and it's in your hands to fix the problem. Our last bullet point is going to be focusing on the issue and not the person. You need to be able to address the problem at hand and not personal things. Take the person out of it. Look at the issue, okay? If you have an employee that you really, really like, y'all really cool, and a situation take place, you need to take that like and that cool out. It is no longer about what you feel, but it is only about the facts, and stick to them and always come from an area of respect. Now, our first email of the day is coming from Betty, and Betty says, "Good day. I have a question. I'm a supervisor and I've been working for my company for almost 20 years. I have a manager who shows a lot of favoritism towards one person on my team. When I'm asked about or when I'm asked something by this employee, I answer her. But if she doesn't like my answer, she calls my manager, and then my manager calls me and tells me I didn't respond correctly to this person. This has happened twice. The first time, it was a whole meeting dedicated to how we respond to employees. The second time, I was mindful of my words, and I still received a phone call telling me that she didn't like the way that I responded. I even used her own words, and I was told this was a totally different situation. So now I don't really say anything to this lady because I'm tired of the tomfoolery, okay, period. I can respond to everyone else on my team and there's no issue, but when I respond to a certain individual, I am being reprimanded by my manager. I'm lost and don't know what to do but stay silent. Any suggestions? Hell yes. I have quite a few. Number one, as always, I tell y'all, what's that D word? Document. Otherwise, it only happened in your imagination. Do you hear what I'm saying? Documentation can be used or can be useful if you have to escalate the issue. If you don't document this matter, it didn't happen. Okay. If you don't document the situations where you have responded to the employee went behind your back and discussed things with your manager to try and get a different answer, it's a problem. So you need to make sure that you document to CYA. Okay. Number two, you need to seek a meeting with your manager. I would 100% request a one-on-one with them and explain the situation and have documentation to back you up. Do not go in guns blazing. Be calm, be professional, and present the evidence. You do not need to emotionally bring these things to her attention, but you need to professionally do so. In this conversation, make sure that you are outlining and show clear instances that have been documented that show that favoritism is affecting your ability to manage this particular team member effectively. Because the rest of the team, they have no problems with the advice that has been given or with the answers that have been given. And this particular one has decided that she is going to go over your head and discuss things with your manager directly to get the answer that she wants to hear. Now, what your manager should do is redirect her 1,000%. She should redirect her and immediately say, go ahead and ask Betty. Have you asked Betty? Have you communicated with Betty? If she was a good manager and wanted to not display any type of favoritism, that is what she would do. Now, in your conversation with her, I really want you to make sure that you ask her for clear expectation. What is the guideline for how you are dealing with this particular employee? Does she want everything to go through her directly for this one person? And you need to pay attention to what she says. If she says, yes, I solely want this employee, or I want this employee to solely report to me, not to you. I don't want to have any more miscommunication, like depending on what she says, you need to make sure you are documenting that, because that is going to go directly to your HR and show that there is a clear form of favoritism happening in the workplace. Because this particular employee has found, well, I have an avenue, so I'm going to take this avenue. I'm going to ignore Betty altogether. I'm not going to go to Betty. I'm going to go to Barbara, because Barbara tells me exactly what I want to hear, and me and Barbara are cool. So I'm going to go to Barbara and get the result that I want and just completely disregard Betty in any way. And so I hope that you take this to HR 1,000%. But I even hope, like my further hope is that you have some documentation on your side. Make sure that you have been writing down and keeping a detailed record of all of your interactions and everything. And I would even start referring her directly to Barbara. Have you discussed this with Barbara? I think you should take it to Barbara. Don't even answer another question. Don't answer another question. Let her go directly to Barbara and document everything that has happened and why you are starting to do that. All right, now our second email of the day is coming from Betty. And Betty says, I manage 2 medical clinics. One clinic runs so smooth and the other clinic is in chaos. The previous manager, who was a joke, always stayed at the good clinic and let the bad clinic do whatever. I try to split my time between the 2 clinics. 7:30 to 11:30, I'm at one clinic. 11:30 to 3:45, I'm at the other clinic. The bad clinic is where I'm needed most, but the good clinic is starting to feel as if I don't care about what's going on there. How can I get the bad clinic in good shape while showing support to the good clinic, all while staying sane? Oh my gosh, I sympathize with you so much because that is literally what I do. I manage 4 dental practices and I go around to each one, okay? And I'm checking to see what they're doing, And you're going to have one that feels like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm not getting enough time. I feel like I'm not getting enough support. And so what I would do is make sure that you're having a conversation with that team and let them know this is what we need to do over the next couple of weeks. I need to focus more on, I'm going to call it the bad office, even though I know you're not labeling it like that to the other team, but say that, look, I need to focus on the bad office. Okay, right now they have this going on and this is what we need to improve. And so I really trust that you all here in the good office, you're going to be just fine because you all have the tools to be able to succeed. I don't need to micromanage you, and I know that you're going to get things done. Right now, I need to be here. So when you're there at the good office, right, make sure that your team knows that you support them 100%. But also let them know that when you're not there, you trust them. You know that they're going to get those things done. You don't have to micromanage them. And you're also giving them a sense of responsibility. You set the expectations very clear. Stay up on your regular check-in. You can check in virtually. I do that all the time. We do a quick Teams call. We do a quick phone call to address any concerns. And I check in regularly with the staff to make sure that they feel like I'm there, even though I'm really not physically present, if that makes any sense. But I definitely understand exactly what you're going through. And so if you have any more questions specifically about this, because this is exactly what I do going into different locations, please message me because, oh my gosh, I understand this email so much. But above all, after you have done the empowering of your staff, delegating those responsibilities, really making sure that your team knows that you support them, whether it's at the good office or the bad office, but make sure that you are prioritizing self-care because managing separate locations is very, very demanding and you can be burnt out very fast. So whatever you are doing outside of work, just as hard as you're working at work, you need to go even harder with self-care. So I'm not sure exactly what you do when you leave work, but you need to find an outlet that's going to help you release some of that frustration so that you don't take that on to yourself. All right, y'all. Now that is the end of our episode. Today is Friday, September 27th, and I'm going to be going live on TikTok tonight at 8:30. If you have any questions regarding management, we are still in our management series, and we're going to be going over to going back to termination next week because we talked about it a little while ago, but I want to really focus on that, what to do if you are facing termination, what to do if you have been terminated, and how to really overcome that situation. So we're going to be talking about that in an email episode and then also in our live episode on next Friday. So if you have any questions, definitely make sure you attend the live tonight at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be talking about management. And as always, y'all, I am so thankful, so appreciative for y'all supporting. We hit our 10,000 downloads last night, and I just cannot believe that this has happened. So thank you again. I really appreciate your support, and I will see y'all on the internet on the live tonight on TikTok, The Millennial Manager, or Brandy, The Millennial Manager. Just search me and you will find me. Y'all have a good one, and I will see y'all on the internet. Bye-bye.